This week on the Analog Circle podcast, Mafia the Old Country gets a release date. Xbox is having another annual Xbox showcase, and we get the time and the date of this event. We get more possible news about when the Elder Scrolls 4 Oblivion remake is releasing, and it seems, if rumors are true, it could be any day, but we will discuss. And Nintendo has come under fire yet again for some remarks that may remind you of Don Matrick. But anyway, all of these stories can be found here and more in episode 253 of the Analog Circle podcast. I am your host, Kiaun Mitchell, and welcome to the show. Welcome. Come on in, sit down, and relax, because we're going to have a great conversation today. And if you are traveling, hopefully we can accommodate you to your destination. I should have said accompany you to your destination. But with that being said, if you, the listener, want to be a part of listener feedback, you can do it two different ways. You can either call in at 443-627-9087 and let your voice literally be heard. Or you can email the show, and the email address is theanalogcirclepodcast@gmail.com. Now, with that being said, though, I do want to let you guys know ahead of time, there will not be a show next week. Oh, God, dog. Dog. Hey, listen. Next week, we won't be here. So we're going to just spend a little bit of time together this week. We may go over an hour like we always do, but we got quite a bit to jump into. So without further ado, with that being said, let's go ahead and let's get into what we all come here for, and that is the gaming news that went down. So let's get things started with the story that I actually got from VGC. So let's get things started with Elder Scrolls 4 Oblivion remake. Now, we have been hearing about this game's existence for quite some time. Feels like years at this point, but we've never got a screenshot or a video or even a release date, a trailer, or anything to actually go with this actually being a thing, the Elder Scrolls 4 remake. Well, it seems like things could be changing with this, because according to Insider, and this is my guy, I don't know this brother, but man, I hope to meet him one day. But Jeff Grubb, he has actually come out, and according to him, it could be for a good reason that we haven't been hearing about any trailers or any screenshots or anything like that. Now, the reason for this is because in a stream on Monday, Jeff said he, quote, been told it's going to shadow drop at any moment this month. It's going to shadow drop pretty soon. End of quote. So according to Jeff, now Jeff, no, he does not have a 100% accuracy rating on these kinds of things, on these predictions, but he has a lot of wins under his belt. So if he is saying that Elder Scrolls 4 Oblivion remake is releasing, shadow dropping, a release of this month in April, I will say this. I will say it's dwindling just a little bit, but we aren't even quite in the middle of the month. Right now, as I'm recording this, it's 11:34 p.m. on Sunday, April 13th. So we're not even halfway through the month, of April yet. But according to him and someone else had also come out. Now, I can't remember that person's name to give them their credit. My apologies about that. But someone else also said that they heard the same thing, that it was shadow dropping sometime this month in April. So could we finally see this thing actually come to fruition this month? or is it still a pipe dream? Only time will tell. We shall see. But let's go ahead though, guys, and let's get into the next story. And this one right here, we're going to be sitting here a while, and it is all about Nintendo yet again. Now, I got this story from NintendoNews.com. So let's talk about Switch 2 for a moment. Now, this story isn't groundbreaking, and we've covered it to a certain degree, but it was confirmed by CD Projekt Red that the maximum capacity that a Switch 2 cartridge or whatever you want to call it, SanDisk cartridge situation, whatever it is, the maximum capacity on those are going to be 64 gigabytes. Now, this sounds okay, but when you think about games like Call of Duty Black Ops 6, being like 130 gigabytes, I mean, it pales in comparison. So I'm sure most physical copies of third-party Nintendo Switch 2 games will not be on the cartridge, but instead be a key. And, that key thing, that key situation, we know how that's going to work. It's usually it's going to be used as pretty much authorization, to say that you can play this game, and it's going to pretty much download it off of the internet, the rest of the game, or, from the Nintendo server. And, pretty much it's going to give you access to the game, because there's 64 gigs. That's not going to cover much of anything third party today. And, to be fair, talking about the 64 gigabyte maximum capacity that the Switch 2 games cartridge is going to have, PS5 games use triple layer BDXL discs, which have a capacity of 100 gigabytes of data. So most games today don't have all the data on the disc either, to be fair, but sticking, with Nintendo, I just wanted to kind of just put it in perspective, not most of these games, they're not fully on the disc. They're going to have to download some assets, to have the game play. But, just saying that. But let's stick with Nintendo of America's President Doug Bowser. Oh, this brother right here, deja vu comes to mind about this brother. But Doug Bowser, he sat down and he talked to the publication Wired. And shocking to me, he said, he said tariffs, weren't factored in to the pricing, end of quote, of the Nintendo Switch console. I said, wait a minute. I think we all thought that the tariffs were definitely playing some kind of role into how much the Switch was going to be.
What did he say?
I just couldn't understand, but I said, hey, you know what? It is what it is. Mr. Doug Bowser, he feels the way that he feels. He thinks that it's worth the money. He talked to, I think it was MS. I can give y'all actually who it was that he talked to. It was it was a good interview too. He sat down and he talked to, looked like it was, I'm going to bring it up right now. So pardon the background noise if you hear it, but I want to give up the source. Now I can't find it. But he did an interview with someone earlier this week. CNBC. That's who it was. CNBC. You can find that interview. It was a very good interview. And he talked about a couple of things, but he definitely said in that interview that the tariffs weren't factored into the pricing of the console. Now, we also said the company is, quote, actively assessing, end of quote, the situation and its impact. Now, he added, quote, it's something we're going to have to address, end of quote. So whether or not they're going to drop the price point or come out and tell people more details as to why the console is priced the way that it is, that might have actually happened in that not MS, but CNBC interview. maybe that's what he feels was needed, and he's not going to come out to address it any more than what he already has. But we'll see. Again, I don't think they're going to drop the price. I think the price is what the price is. Man, so much so because Doug Bowser, he pretty much, this brother doubled down on him having nothing but confidence in the Nintendo Switch, so much so that this is where Nintendo came under fire, because Doug Bowser simulated Don Matrick back in 2013 when he pretty much said, if you don't want an Xbox One, we got a console for you. If online is a problem, we got a console for you, and it's called the Xbox 360. Now Bowser, he wasn't quite that direct, but he did say, and man, oh man, this joker came under real fire and duress under this. Now he said this, and I quote, we recognize there are some people that may not be able to afford the Switch 2's price point. That's why we wanted to make the other Switch platforms available, so people still have an opportunity to come into our gaming universe, be a part of these characters in these worlds, and see value, if you will, in whatever rung of the platform they come in. End of quote. So that didn't really resonate, with the people pretty much saying, look, if you can't afford the Switch 2, get the original Switch. Now, where Doug Bowser kind of lost me at, the Switch has been around for 8 years, brother. At this point in time, the amount of people that were going to buy a Switch, you have sold 150 million of these things. How much more of the market do you think that is interested in your product is going to pick up this product? You have pretty much tapped out, sir, on how many people are going to pick up this platform. So by you saying, look, if the Switch 2 is too expensive for you, get the original Switch, somebody could say to you, I could say to you, Mr. Doug Bowser, I have the Switch, and the Switch 2 is still too expensive for me. Doug Bowser is pretty much saying, look, man, you're just going to have to sit there and enjoy the Switch for a while until you can get your money right, until you can get that paycheck that you need to get the Switch 2. This is what you're going to have to deal with. Stick with the original Switch. Now, he didn't say all of that. Like I said, I read to you the quote that this brother said, but golly, I will say this has to be a first. This has to be a first for Nintendo. Can y'all remember a time in history? Now, Nintendo has had some botched consoles. God dog. The N64, it was terrible. It was a terrible console. Well, I'm not going to say terrible. A little bit too far. But it did not have the caliber of games like the Super Nintendo had. The GameCube released. It didn't do well at all. The Wii released. It sold a lot, but it didn't have a consistency of great games that were coming out on the platform. The Wii U, that failed. It failed. But yet, despite all of these trips and falls that Nintendo has gone under, I have never seen them get this much backlash. And I love it. I absolutely love the fact that people are coming out and they are saying, Nintendo, this is bogus. We don't agree with what you are saying. And I remember Doug Bowser, he was questioned in that interview on that I said was CNBC. Y'all know my memory is terrible. CNBC. The gentleman asked him about the price point of the $80. And he pretty much, now I don't want to put words in his mouth. He pretty much, matter of fact, let me see if I can play this for y'all. Let me see if I can bring it up. I'm going to try to take it to the point where he started talking about it.
Bring,
so just bear with
deeper
me.
and richer.
Let's talk about the games.
Yeah.
Here
Behind
we go.
us, we have
This
the new
is
Mario
it.
Kart World game going on. Now, I know you're bundling that with the console as a digital download. That it's a $50 add-on. But if you buy the game itself, this got a lot of attention. I don't know if you've seen. $80, that's a lot for a game. I know it's typically not what Nintendo charges. And then we look at the Donkey Kong game that's coming out about a month later. It's $70. Can you talk a little bit about how the gaming pricing strategy is $80 kind of the benchmark for a AAA game from Nintendo? What should we be expecting in the Switch 2 generation as far as how much we're going to be spending on these games?
Yeah, I would say that we're not really looking to establish a benchmark for pricing. We look at every game and every experience and determine what we believe is the right price point based on that experience. You've had a chance to play Mario Kart World and see how deeply immersive it is and how fun it is. And we haven't shown everything yet. We still have a Mario Kart World Direct that'll be coming that'll show even the deeper feature set. So we believe based on the depth and breadth of the play and the repeatability of the play over time, the pricing that we announced is the right pricing. But again,
Golly, so there it is. So Doug Bowser, and pardon me, I probably will edit all of that stuff out just to get to the nitty gritty of things. So if it sounds like it might have skipped around a little bit, it's because I edited that stuff out that didn't need to be there. But that shows right there that Doug Bowser is he's almost pretty much aligned with the guy over at Take-Two, which I can't remember his name at the moment, but their CEO said the same thing, that game prices should be based on how much value that you're getting out of the game. So even though the typical price of a game may be $70, we feel like we're giving you more value than that $70. Hence, we're going to charge you more. So Doug Bowser is saying pretty much that. Look, it's up to us. If we feel like we're giving you more value than the average $70 game, then we're going to tax you for that. We're going to charge you $80 to $90 because we feel like it's a better experience than you typically would get for $70. I don't know how much that's going to fly with a lot of gamers. So much so that, again, they are coming under fire. Nintendo, like I was saying before, they have had many failed consoles that have not reached the heights of the Switch 2 or the Wii, for that matter. But yet, we've never heard Nintendo come under fire like this. I do believe that even though you can be a fan of something, it comes a time when you just know that you're being taken advantage of. These games don't cost $200 and $300 million to make. Doug Bowser said himself that third-party developers, they will be the ones that will tell you how much they want to charge you for their games. They're not going to tell them their games have to be $80 or $90 if you're getting them physically. They are letting them set the price point, for their games. But it's just a crazy situation to me that Nintendo, again, it happens every time. Whenever a console is successful, go back in your mental Rolodex to all of these different consoles that had a great last generation. They always fumble. Xbox 360 to Xbox One, PlayStation 2 to PlayStation 3. And now we're seeing it yet again with Nintendo, with the Nintendo Switch 1 being a success. And now they're trying to up the ante again because they feel like they are now the new kings of the console space. It never fails. And I am going on record in saying that I do not believe that the Switch 2 will be half. It'll probably be half as good as the Switch 1 when it comes to the sales. This price point right here at $450 to $500, this is not typical Nintendo behavior. And we heard that it had nothing again to do with the tariffs. This is going to be very, very interesting, which is why, matter of fact, because I know you see it, this is why the question of the week exists. But we're going to get there when we get there. But before I wrap up, with Nintendo in this section, I also did want to bring up that Tears of the Kingdom and Breath of the Wild, the upgrades, they will be $10 a piece, which is good. Now, if you do have the premium online subscription, it will be free. Those upgrades will be free. Now, we just don't know. Now, this is the thing. Even though the two Zeldas, again, Breath of the Wild and Tears of the Kingdom, they will be free as far as the upgrade goes if you're with the premium online subscription model. We don't know if every game that Nintendo is going to have an upgrade for will be available in that service to give you that upgrade for free. We will have to see. But at least with this, they're not price gouging. Now, the other thing that I did hear, I'm not 100% clear on it yet, but I did hear that there will be no DLC with these upgrades either. That's going to still be separate. You're just going to be getting the base game, which to me is fair. PlayStation doesn't do it. If you're going to get one of their games, all you're getting is that base game, but you're getting it upgraded, faster, frames per second of 60, faster load times. That's what I meant to say. Faster load times, better visuals, 4K or, not 1080, like 4K, 30 frames or whatever the case may be. Ray tracing, all of the bells and whistles that you get. So that makes sense to me. But we'll see what happens with this. Again, I love the fact that Nintendo is under pressure to a certain degree. The people are going to go out there that are Nintendo fans. They're going to go out there and buy it. But mark my words, the Switch 2 will not be a failure. But it will not be the success that the original Switch was as far as sales of the Switch 2 goes. Because we know Nintendo, this is another anyway, we'll talk about that another time. Let's go ahead, though, guys. Let's get into the next story that I actually got from Push Square. So this is just a quick story. If anybody is getting Indiana Jones and the Great Circle on the PlayStation 5, it's gonna set you back quite a bit. Be prepared to have at least 125 gigabytes free of hard drive space. So you might have to delete some stuff off and do what you got to do, but just make sure you free up at least 125 gigs. Let's get into the next story that I actually got from Yanko Design. So during the NBC Today show, the film crew may have uncovered an Xbox secret that is kind of a secret, but kind of not a secret. But anyway, while they were touring a confidential Xbox hardware lab, the camera briefly panned to Phil Spencer's office. And we all know that usually it's always some kind of Easter egg of sorts that can be found, in his office. It's always something there. And this time was no different because a handheld console with Xbox branding that doesn't match any known prototype, including the rumored Project Keenan, was seen. Right there, they picked it up just for a brief second. NBC Today. So does this mean, now I know that Phil Spencer, he's talked about it before. Like I said, it's a secret, but it's not a secret. It's one of the most open book secrets we've heard in gaming. Phil Spencer has talked about it multiple times, the handheld market. But does this show, this definitely, at least in my opinion, shows that they are coming to market with some kind of handheld. Now, whether or not it's going to be a premium handheld, whether it's going to run games at 60 frames or 30 frames per second, all of that is yet to be seen or heard, but who knows at this, well, we'll get there. We'll get there to that story as well. We're going to link this story with another story coming up in just a couple of minutes. But just keep this in mind. They saw this thing, caught it on camera. Xbox branded handheld. Hold that in your mental bank until we get to the couple of stories down the road. But let's go ahead and let's get into the next story that I actually got from thegame.com. So I have to make, just kind of going back to Nintendo again. I have to make a correction about what I said about the Switch 2 having achievements. Now, it was confirmed by Vice President of Player and Product Experience, Bill Trennan, who actually works for Nintendo. When he was asked about the console having achievements, he said, quote, "Nope," end of quote. Instead, it's just Zelda Breath of the Wild and Tears of the Kingdom that will feature the achievements, nothing else.
Move this man!
I tell you, oh, Nintendo, the glimpse of hope that Nintendo was finally coming into the 2050th century of gaming. These jokers still in 1997. I thought, I ain't gonna say that. That's a little bit too far. These jokers got 4K going on. They got 60 frames, 120 frames. I'm gonna walk that statement all the way back. But daggone Nintendo, you got, man, these jokers got real cute, didn't they? That doggone Doug Bowser, he sat up there and made, chatting and gaming seem like a whole new revolution that just happened this year. Like they invented it and whatnot. Oh man, according to, being able to chat and these kind of things, these are just premium features. This is why the Switch 2 had to be the price that it had to be. God dang, where were you back in 2002? Or what was it, 2001? When Xbox Live had first come around and they had chat. Then PlayStation, man, come on, man. This is absolutely, this is ridiculous. Now I understand Nintendo. Man, Nintendo can't be off doing their own thing, man. They cannot be off. Or people saying they off in the corner doing their own thing at these price points. Ain't no doggone way. You can't just dismiss Nintendo and say Nintendo is just doing Nintendo. No. Come over here, Nintendo. Get in the fold and stop playing and start fighting these other two. Because you are in the same league, price-wise, as these other two. So they should not be able to get away with this stuff. How many of you? I'm just curious. I have the Nintendo Switch. I've been enjoying it too. It's a great console. I'm not even going to say it's a good console. That console is great. I've been on record and said it 1 billion times that it's the best console they have made since the Super Nintendo. And it has exceeded the Super Nintendo because of what it can do. So me being a fan of the Switch, I can still say, come on, man, you got to do better than this, Nintendo. Give your players these medals, what I thought were going to be medals or something else. They weren't calling it achievements. It was supposed to be something else. I can't remember, but some kind of medal system or whatever. Bring that to other games, Nintendo. I would love to get some medals or some kind of achievements or trophies for certain things that I do in your games. But yet it's just for Zelda Breath of the Wild and Tears of the Kingdom. Golly, I just wanted to make sure that I made that correction. But let's go ahead and let's get into the next story that I actually got from IGN. And this is where I wanted to link that Xbox handheld with this story. So it has been confirmed that on Sunday, it's going to be an epic day. Sunday, June 8th at 1 p.m., Xbox will be having their Xbox Game Showcase. Oh, man. Xbox has been knocking it out of the park. These guys have been sensational with their shows. So again, June 8th at 1 p.m. This is when the showcase is going to happen, the 2025 Xbox Showcase event. And afterwards, now this was interesting. Afterwards, they will have a follow-up show that will concentrate on The Outer Worlds 2, kind of similar to what they did with, I believe it was Starfield. And last year, what was it called? The last Call of Duty that came out, Call of Duty Black Ops 6, like they did before, after the actual show was over, and then these shows, appeared, afterwards. But I mean, The Outer Worlds 2, I'm not gonna, oh man, I am not at all interested in The Outer Worlds 2. I could care less about that show. So I won't be tuning into that part of the showcase. But they also, with this showcase, oh my goodness, I know I give Xbox a hard time. They deserve it. They deserve it. They do. But I will say, I am so interested in this showcase because they got so many games to show, so much to show. I mean, I'm wondering, are they going to show off? Because a lot of these titles look very promising. Like Clockwork Revolution. Is that going to be there? Contraband. Now, I know we haven't seen anything on Contraband, but the concept sounds pretty promising. Will Contraband finally make a gameplay debut? Perfect Dark. They still got to talk about Perfect Dark. Gears of War, E-Day. Do we get gameplay of that? State of Decay 3. Could possibly be there again. And I mean, Fable doing another follow-up. But what about games that we don't know about, like Contraband? And what about Blade? We can't forget Blade is in-house. It is an Xbox studio that is working on that game. Will we get a chance to see that game this year? It's so many promising titles, and that's just a few. Who knows if Call of Duty is going to be there again? Man, they got so many games. Is the new Elder Scroll going to be there? A new Fallout? I mean, listen, I know those are very far-reaching goals to have something like that show up on their stage, but I'm just saying all of these things are in-house. So they're all possibilities, maybe on a smaller scale. We could see some of these titles make a comeback. Does Gears of War Remaster or Remake, the collection, actually make its appearance at this show? Because we heard that that's supposed to come out sometime over the summer. They have so many amazing things in their arsenal. Man, I'm going to tell you, their arsenal is heavy. They got a very heavy arsenal, and I'm telling you, it's going to be amazing to see. I know I'm all tongue-tied and whatnot, but these jokers could truly, truly drop some bombs. I mean, it is one of those things. After last year's show, I said, God, dog, these jokers got something. They have something very, very special. It was so great to see. Last year, that show, oh man, that show was amazing. I mean, they came out of the gate blazing. Just everything was a target. Everything. They got on that stage and they dumped a whole clip out. It was sensational. So they have set the precedent that, over their last couple of shows, they have not dropped the ball. That show in, what was it, January, when they showed off South of Midnight. What's South of Midnight there? I can't remember. But I know Doom, South of Midnight was there. Doom was there. The 33rd, or I can't remember, the RPG game was there. And then they showed Ninja Gaiden. Oh my gosh. It was just amazing. And no, I'm not going to get down on Xbox because I know South of Midnight came out, and I know that for some it was a gameplay issue, But people said overall it was a good game. Matter of fact, let's see where that sits, because I know some people are going to say that is Microsoft starting to slide back into their old ways of making mediocre games. I don't think so. I don't think so. Let me see. Let's see what the Metacritic is on this game. What is the Metacritic score for South of Midnight?
According to Vice, as of this writing, South of Midnight has an Open Critic aggregate score of 78% and a Metacritic score of 77%.
That ain't bad! That's not bad at all! That's a respectable score! That is respectable! It's high 70, it's almost a B! It's almost a B! So, I mean, I understand some people, their standards, oh man, if it's not a 98 or a 97 or 100, it's a bad game. That is craziness. 77 to a 78 is a great score. It's a good score. That's a good score. So I don't think that they're going to slip off. I think that these next couple of titles that are going to release, even though, like I said, some of them are not for me. Oh my goodness. Shucks. Matter of fact, talking about games that weren't for me, I saw that marathon over the weekend. I said, nope. No. I will not be looking at this show at all. I saw those graphics. I said, man, you better get out of here quickly.
Move this man.
Get out of here quickly. I don't want no parts of this, man. So PlayStation, they're not going to have games that are going to hit for everybody. Xbox is no different, but their trajectory to bring out amazing games is really, really high. And I have the utmost confidence in them at this show. And like I was saying about the handheld, this would be an amazing time, an amazing moment that if that handheld is real, like the report was showing and saying that, when NBC had went down there and they had, they were recording and they happened to see that around in Phil Spencer's office and saw the Xbox branding. If that is real and it's ready for prime time, what better way to get certain parts of the fan base excited than to show off a handheld that could rival what Nintendo is offering. It could rival it. I want to see Nintendo sweat so bad in this generation because they're getting too big for their britches right now. They need to be humbled. Like Sony got humbled by Xbox. They need to be humbled. They need this. They are feeling all over themselves right now. They just touch it. Oh man, I'm the guy. Everybody loves me. Everybody love my 8 tracks. These jokers is out here thinking they run the whole the whole gaming industry right now. And I'm like, nah. Somebody has to challenge these guys. Matter of fact, I think the Sony, they're supposed to be making a handheld. We'll see what happens with them. But we, again, heard from NBC, who has the footage of this Xbox handheld. It had the Xbox branding on it. In Phil Spencer's office, Phil Spencer's talked about it. It would be a great time to see that actually show up on their stage. I'm just I really, really want Xbox to do great at this show. I really do. And we just have to wait and see, man. June 8th at 1 p.m. We will definitely be here live. When the show is going on, doing live reactions, it is going to be great. I hope that they don't, that my expectations are so high that I hope I'm not jinxing them at the same time, because they've been doing such a great job. Eventually everybody loses momentum, but I'm just hoping they can keep it up because they got so many more games to show off, so much more. Matter of fact, we don't even know what Ninja Theory, that game that they were working on. I can't remember the name of it, but it looked very, very interesting. The game that they're working on, maybe that gets shown off at this show as well. So it's so much to look forward to. But I have gushed enough over Xbox. Let's go ahead though, guys, and let's get into the next story. Oh man. Oh, Sony. God dog, these jokers right here. Got to get him some smoke this week. So I got this story from naughtydog.com. And I know y'all heard Naughty Dog, so I know most of y'all know exactly where I'm going with this story. But over the last 2 weeks, I would say or so, we have been hearing about some Last of Us thing that was releasing. And, you know, I was a little hyped up about it. I'm like, oh man, it's what could it be? And god darn, I'm sad to say it's true. Naughty Dog said, quote, oh man, these jokers said, we wanted to celebrate our studio, the series, and you, the fans, by making it easier than ever to experience this story. We're proud to introduce The Last of Us Complete. End of quote. Man, Sony. Whoo, God, dog. Darn what people say about milking a franchise, man. That milk got powder coming out of it right now. It ain't nothing left. The milk is now in a powdery form. It ain't no more substance. These jokers have, man, the last, you know what? I'm not going to vent or anything like that. I'm going to just get to what this so-called complete comes with. So, says the digital complete is available now, but the physical will be available on July 10th exclusively via direct.playstation.com. Now, it's going to come with a steel bookcase, both physical discs of Part 1 and Part 2 of The Last of Us, Left Behind prequel chapter, The Last of Us American Dreams comics. It's going to be 1 through 4 with new cover art, set of 4 lithographic art prints, and a thank you letter from Neil Druckmann. Now, this whole package is going to sit you back. It's going to sit your wallet back. $110. But the all digital bundle, that's going to set you back $99.99. Now, I'm sure they're releasing this. I mean, oh man, I want to put it in perspective, but this is just crazy at this point. So I'm sure that they're releasing this to coincide with the show. The show, I think it premiered tonight. I didn't see it. I'm not too sure. Was it tonight? Anyway, I don't know. I'll look it up in a minute. But I'm sure that's why they did it, was so people that were fans of the show, you know, they could have something that released again. But this makes zero sense. 0 cents, especially since the games are already available and cheaper. If you already, you know, own the game, you can do a $10 upgrade for The Last of Us Part 2. You know, now I'm sure everybody doesn't have the game, but God dog. You know, I mean, I'm sure for the new fan, maybe this is okay, but even still, this is outrageous. You know, on a side note though, golly, a season 3 of The Last of Us HBO show, It has been green lit. It's been green. Man, I'm all tongue tied. Daggone. It's been green lit. So we will be getting a season 3. But yeah, dog, man. Sony, man, listen. I mean, wow. We have heard over the years that, man, Xbox, oh man, shout out to the good brother Kid Smooth for one of his best tracks, Halo, Gears, and Forza. We have heard for years that's all Xbox has had, and they milked the heck out of them. But daggone, I have to say, they didn't milk them like this. They were just bringing them out, new ones. Every other year, every couple of years, we got one. Sony is milking the same franchise, the same 2 games in the franchise, over and over and over. This is absolutely insane. Just go out there, get the first one, this a remake, and get The Last of Us Part 2 remastered. Go out there and get them. I understand you might save a couple of bucks. If you do it this way, you save $10. You get a couple of extras. You get a steel book and all of that stuff. But man, if you go to GameStop, I'm sure you could get it even cheaper than that. So man, oh man, it's not fake outrage. I'm not outraged. I'm just confused and sad right now that Sony has had to. God, dog, these jokers have been scraping this year. These jokers been scraping, man. You know, trying to find exclusives this year. They have man, I'm out, man. God, dog, let me get it together. They have it was like I was trying to start up a car with a bad battery. Golly, hold on, give me a second. They have re-released these games how many times this generation? Wow. Oh, man, I hope. Man, listen, go out there, buy the things that you enjoy. I'm never going to tell. I don't have the power to tell you to do any darn thing. But, you know, go out there and support what you want to support with your hard-earned money. And me, as a Last of Us fan, I love The Last of Us. Part 2 more than Part 1. I thought Part 2 mopped the floor with the first one. It was way better in every aspect, in my opinion. It sure was. And I stand on that. I stand on it. You know, they did a much better job with the second one than the first one. Period. Gameplay, story, even graphics, just a better product. But even for me, excuse me, as much as I love The Last of Us Part 2 and The Last of Us franchise, this is just a bridge too far for myself. It's too much. Now the question though, just trying to, get away from, man, this Last of Us complete is already complete. You got both of them already on the market right now. Oh man. But that to the side, like I was telling you guys just a couple of minutes ago, The Last of Us does have a season 3. It has been green lit. So I wanted to ask you guys this question, just as a bonus question this week. Does this really mean that because it's a season 3, that the games, The Last of Us games, 1 and 2 are pretty much it for real? Could that really be the conclusion of the stories in game form? Because if they're going to get a Last of Us Part 3 season, now depending on how they do it this season, because people that have played The Last of Us Part 2 know that it is some stuff that goes down heavily that changes the whole trajectory of the game itself and the story completely. I'm wondering, do you guys think that they save those events for the 3rd season, Or do you think they actually include them in this season, and next season is the telling of a totally new Last of Us storyline, which would, again, pretty much dismiss a reason to a certain degree. I mean, I would much rather play the story of The Last of Us Part 3 instead of watching it. But if it was a situation where Neil Druckmann and his team could actually tell that story in movie form, well, I know it's not a movie, but in TV show form, would you be okay with that? Would that be okay with you, or would you want to actually experience the story playing it, in a video game form? I'm just interested to know that. Or do you think that, yes, this is a clear-cut explanation that says to you that The Last of Us video game story is wrapped up because they have a season 3? Just curious to know. But your opinions on that. But let's go ahead, though, guys, and let's get into the next story. Sony, you got to do better than this. Y'all are way better than this. Man, oh, my gosh. Anyway, it's just disheartening. It's not fake outrage. I'm just a little concerned. I mean, I think that it was a story that, oh man, I forgot the executive's name. Was it Shuhei Yoshida? I don't want to put that on him, but I do know that one of the higher ups inside of Sony did say that, they talked about them actually canceling projects, to a certain degree, multiple projects where they had like $25 million invested, as a total into some of these projects, and, why they got canceled and things of that nature. I think he said he felt bad about it, but nonetheless, they canceled them. And I know that by doing that, they're really setting themselves back a little bit to pretty much have to rebuild. And I get that, but man, this generation, it has been a great generation for PlayStation. It has been awesome. I absolutely love my PlayStation 5. Very, very much so. I've not had a drought of games to play. Matter of fact, I'm still playing Days Gone. I got over 20 plus hours into that. That game continues to be really, really well done. It does get a little repetitive to a certain degree, but not egregious, where it gets to the point where you're like, oh, I'm not going to finish this. No, you just kind of see a pattern of how the story is going and how the mission layouts are eventually. And like I said, being 20 plus hours in, you kind of know what each mission, maybe not story wise, because the story is what's really holding my attention, for the most part. And I mean, the gameplay is good. Graphics are very well done. I don't know how much better the graphics can get, even in the PlayStation 5 version of this game. But nonetheless, I'm just saying all of that to say that I've been enjoying the PlayStation 5. And I know that Days Gone was a last generation game, but I love the fact that I'm able to actually play it on the PlayStation 5, along with the other exclusives that have come out for this generation as well. It has been a fantastic console, but this year, it's like, man, the brakes have just come to a screeching, well, not the brakes, the car has just come to a screeching halt this year. It's April, it's still early, so things can change, but we'll see. Definitely got my eye on you, Sony, for sure. But let's go ahead, though, guys. Let's get into the next story that I actually got from Daily Star. So let's talk about another highly anticipated game from Take-Two outside of GTA 6. And that, of course, is a game that I am very much so looking forward to. And I know a lot of you guys are, too. It's Mafia: The Old Country. Now, in a now deleted blog post, the following was said, and I quote, Mafia: The Old Country is available August 8th, 2025. Pre-order now for PlayStation 5, Xbox Series X/S, and PC via Steam. And also stay tuned to the official Mafia website for more information. Doggone it, August 8th. I can't wait. Can't wait. This game is going to be epic. I mean, looking at the trailer, they're doing the whole situation of getting put into the Mafia, you know, with the card and all of that stuff, the blood and whatnot. Oh, I think it's going to be so good, because that's one thing about the Mafia franchise. Now, I haven't played all of them. I've only played Mafia 1 and 3. Never played the second one because it kind of got ruined for me to a certain degree. But playing Mafia 1 Remake and Mafia 3, those stories were so darn good. Man, Mafia 3, oh my goodness, one of my favorite lines. You can pray on the way up. Oh my gosh, it was amazing. Sensational. The story, yet again, was the reason. The gameplay was okay. You know, the graphics were okay. You know, but it was the story that kept me gripped the whole time. And I would even argue and say Mafia Remake, the first Mafia, was better than Mafia 3. Graphics wise, story, I don't know. Ooh, that's a toss up right there. I don't know which story was better. I don't know. I just know that both stories were very, very well told. And at the end of Mafia 1, oh man, the way that they, and this is not spoilers at all, but how they intertwined Mafia 1 with Mafia 2, daggone, it was so well done with that storyline. But man, like I said, that's the thing that Hangar 13 does well. They can hang their hat on telling a great story. At least for me. I'm not going to speak for y'all. Y'all might feel differently, but their stories and their character development is so well done on a consistent basis that I can only imagine going back to the essence of what made Mafia, going back to the whole world, the old country, where it all started from. Oh my gosh, man. I am so excited for this. Even if, for me, even if, you know, certain events happen and GTA 6 won't come out this year. And I got a follow up to this story that's going to go into GTA 6. There's rumors, of course, but even if that doesn't come out this year, I know we're all going to be heartbroken. I mean, dag, I'm going to be very, very upset. But I will say, if Mafia comes out and it's as great as I think it's going to be, it's okay. For me, I know some of y'all are like, speak for yourself. You're crazy. If you think that I would rather have Mafia over GTA 6. That's not what I'm saying. Just to clear that up, that is not at all what I'm saying, is that I would rather have Mafia over GTA 6. But I would rather have one or the other come out this year. And if Mafia is the one that's going to come out this year, then it will help me to be able to cope with GTA 6 not making it out this year. But we'll see. But this game, I wonder who's going to have this on their stage. I wonder, will this be on Xbox's stage? Because, see, that's the thing. Now, we know that PlayStation, they don't show up. They haven't showed up in years for a showcase. But we know that Xbox, no matter how bad their shows have been, no matter how great their shows have been, they have been consistent when it comes to showing up for E3. Well, I know it's not E3, but E3 in the E3 season, they always show up. So could it be something that we see during their showcase? Oh, man, I really, really, really hope so. Because, like I said, August 8th is when it's coming out. So it's going to need a little bit more publicity. And what better publicity to do than to put it up on Xbox's stage and show it off? Oh, man, we know that they're not going to get GTA 6. Nobody is going to get GTA 6 on their show. But Mafia, the old country, is a good replacement. It's a good second prize, a second prize winner. That is a really, really good prize. So we'll see what happens with this, but be on the lookout. August 8th, Mafia, the old country is coming. Let's go ahead. And let's, like I talked about before, let's get into some GTA 6 rumors.
Rumor has it is something that only I know.
So I actually got this story from Comic Book. So this time the rumor is coming from X user, or some people call it Twitter, but X user Detective Seed. So I've heard of him before. He's built up a reputation for leaks and reports. And even though, now this has to be said, brother Detective Seeds hasn't always had a perfect track record. So definitely keep that in mind when I'm talking about this story. But according to him, GTA 6 will be released in November. And the second GTA 6 trailer won't be shown until the end of May. So pardon me. It was a situation where it was never confirmed. Nobody knows. These GTA 6 rumors are very elusive. I mean, you don't know what's going on. You don't know who's telling the truth. You don't know who's trying to just build up hype for their band, off of GTA 6. You just don't know what is going on out here in these GTA 6 rumor streets. But I will say it was a situation, like I was going to say, where it was a report that the game was supposed to come out in September. Then that was pushed to October. But it was never confirmed. Again, none of this stuff has been confirmed. But according to Detective Seeds, the game is going to be released in November. I mean, I guess, because think about this. 2K actually does have a pretty stacked lineup this year. Because this year they got Borderlands. What's it, Borderlands 4? I haven't kept up with Borderlands too much, so pardon me. Let's just say the latest Borderlands that's coming out. They have that coming out this year. They got Mafia, the old country, that's coming out this year. And they got Grand Theft Auto 6 as well. You gotta space those out. I mean, they have to be spaced out quite a bit. I mean, GTA 6 could drop on Sunday. I mean, a random day, and it's gonna sell. But still, you need each project to make back that amount of money and more. So you have to set them up to release in the best time frame or the best time window possible. So if you have Mafia coming out in August, matter of fact, I guess I gotta look it up. Borderlands. Let me see when that's gonna come out. I'm looking it up now. All right, here we go. When does the latest Borderlands release?
According to Games Radar, Gearbox has confirmed that the Borderlands 4 release date is set for September 23, 2025. The title will launch across all platforms simultaneously, right, with news coming as part of the February play.
I got you. You good. All right. So, yeah, that's going to be in September. So you're talking about, God, dog, that's back to back. August 8th. And then you got, again, August 8th, September 23rd. And then it would only make sense that you couldn't release Grand Theft Auto realistically in September. Yes, you could, but you're going to Titanfall 2 Borderlands terribly. It's not going to move if you release in that month. So you want to give Borderlands as much time. I mean, dag, Mafia Mafia, the old country, is only going to get a little over a month to breathe on its own. August 8th. September is Borderlands. So yeah, you got to skip September and October and possibly put it in November. Man, Detective C's probably, this brother probably doing exactly what I'm doing. We all guessing at the end of the day and just thinking about what realistically works. And even in my mind, that only works out to give each game at least some kind of time to have on their own where they can shine without big brother GTA 6, the juggernaut, coming on the scene and shutting everybody's corner down. Ain't nobody moving no product. That whole week, the Grand Theft Auto was out, unless it's Call of Duty. Call of Duty, they definitely, ooh, shucks. Could you imagine that? Oh, man, that versus. Could you imagine, not Mafia, Grand Theft Auto 6 and Call of Duty going head-to-head with each other in November if this is true? Because I guarantee you that, I mean, if it does fall in November, Call of Duty, that is, we don't know when it's going to release. But if it does fall in November, and that's when they're releasing, I can almost guarantee they're not going to move it. They're going to say, nah, this is our block. You know, y'all ain't going to come into our territory, our month, thinking we're going to move. Nah, y'all move. We run November. That's going to be a good, man, that's going to be interesting. If Grand Theft Auto 6 does fall in November and those two are going against each other, wow, what does that look like? How many of y'all got Call of Duty and how many of y'all got Grand Theft? I ain't gonna lie to you, man. Ooh, shucks. If I had to pick one, oh, that's a tough one. I have to say, man, I think the Grand Theft Auto would win that month, though. They would win that NPD because everybody and their great grandmother is looking forward to Grand Theft Auto 6. Call of Duty comes out every year. I'm not saying it's going to suffer, but I think it comes in second that month. I'm curious to know y'all thoughts on that. What do y'all think? Who do y'all have winning if it's Call of Duty versus GTA 6 in November, if this rumor is true? Let me know something. Let's go ahead, though, guys. Man, that will be interesting. But let's go ahead and let's get into the next story. Now, this next story, I was a little, y'all are going to have to bear with me on this. So now I was a little confused by this, but according to a Games Radar article from Nintendo's official guide page on how to buy the Switch 2, it says, quote, the first batch of invitations. Now, this is to buy the Switch 2. The first batch of invitations will go out starting May 8th, 2025. Additional batches of invitation email sent periodically until purchasing of My Nintendo Store is open to everyone. End of quote. So it was a situation. Now, we all know that Nintendo, they said, well, look, the previous date of April 9th to be able to pre-order the Switch 2, we're going to let you guys know when you'll be able to do that. So we all figured, okay, Nintendo, they're going to let us know something at a later date. So when this May date came up, May 8th, 2025, I thought, okay, this is new information. But as I read the article, like I said, from Games Radar, they made a note, like a correction, that said that this was already said on April 2nd of this month, that they had already said that they were going to have the pre-orders, being available, well, for people to get these emails and these invites. It was coming out May 8th. So I was like, I didn't know that. So I just wanted to let you guys know, I guess that's the new date that you'll be able to pre-order the Switch 2 on, May 8th, 2025. Matter of fact, let's just, just for confirmation, because like I said, I was a little confused. I don't want to give y'all false information. So let's see what Google says. When do pre-orders start for Nintendo Switch 2? Okay, so it didn't bring up exactly what I needed it to. Okay, the news. Let's try it again. When do pre-orders for Nintendo Switch 2 begin? All right, it says pre-orders for... Yeah, now see, it's saying... Okay, it says pre-orders for the Nintendo Switch 2 began in the UK on April 8th, 2025. In the US, pre-orders were initially scheduled for April 9, 2025, but were delayed due to concerns about tariffs. Nintendo has confirmed that the first batch of invitation emails for U.S. pre-orders will go out, starting May 8th, 2025. Okay, so yeah. So just be on the lookout for the emails for any of you guys that are interested in buying the Switch 2. That'll be the day that you want to make sure that your emails are open. Now, the other thing that I wanted to go over is keeping with this theme of pre-orders. It was also discovered by new customs data that was provided by NBD Horiston Corp, which is one of the three main the Horiston Corp is one of the three main Nintendo Switch 2 assemblers. They're based in, I believe, Vietnam? Yeah, they're based in Vietnam. It was said that they shipped a total of 785,700 units in February, and 725,200 of them went to the USA in February. Now, at first, I thought that was a typo. I said, "Oh, wait. We just had the show in April, and you can't pre-order until April 9th. I mean, we know that again that date didn't hold, but I was saying, how is that possible? But in the interview, Doug Bowser even said that there are, in the NBC interview, he said that Nintendo Switch 2 product has been shipped in the CNBC interview. It is already over here. And the interviewer said, oh man, people are going to start looking at those stores or trying to find those stores that already have them. So yeah, already it's almost, like I said, 725,200 of them are already here. So, with that being said, it was also some information that came from WCCF Tech in the article where it was suggesting that Nintendo, they could focus all the production in Vietnam to the U.S., suggesting millions of Switch 2 consoles could be shipped from the country in time for the June 5th, 2025 release date. So it seems like Nintendo, they are really doing everything in their power to make sure that it's not going to be a shortage of this console. It seems like it's quite possible, maybe not millions, but at over 700,000, and you're still, 2 months out? From the, a little less than 2 months, out from the console actually releasing. I think that it's a good chance that they could reach over 1 million of these things being shipped by the time the Switch 2 officially launches. So I'm saying all of that to say that, it may not be a situation like the PlayStation 5. Hopefully it won't be. Hopefully it won't be like the Series X and the S, because they did. I know we laugh a little bit at, the state of Xbox and what they've been going through, but they did for a small stretch of time. I mean, very, very brief stretch of time. They were selling out, and the Series X was hard to find, as well as I can't speak on the Series S. I don't know 100%, but the Series X was definitely a console that was a little hard to find during that time. But it seems like Nintendo, they are not going to be playing those games, because we know Nintendo has been infamous over the years to have their consoles come out in short supply. 10 here, 3 here, 9 there, 2 over here. That burned me up with the Nintendo Wii. that system, oh my gosh, it was absolutely madness trying to find one of those. Seemed like for years, maybe it didn't last for years, but it seemed like that shortage lasted a long time. But it seems like that's not going to be the case for the Nintendo Switch 2. But I will say, man, Nintendo is Nintendo. So only time will tell. Let's go ahead, though, guys, and let's get into the next story that I actually got from PureXbox.com. So Microsoft closed on the Activision deal. Now, this has bothered me. I don't know if it has bothered y'all, and I know y'all are like, why the heck would it bother you? You don't even have an Xbox, sir. I get that. You're right about that. But let me talk to you about this story though. So yeah, I'm trying to get myself off the hot seat pretty much. But let me get to the story though, man. So we know they closed on Activision, in October. I think it was October 13th, 2023. But since then, many people like myself have wondered when the floodgates would open for Activision titles being available on Xbox Game Pass. Well, to this day, I mean, look, to be fair, it does remain a mystery. But I will say this. It is a small drip feed that could be possibly hitting Game Pass because according to the Microsoft Store on PC, they have added banners that say, quote, included with Game Pass, end of quote. Now, these titles include Tony Hawk's Pro Skater 1 and 2. You got Call of Duty Infinite Warfare and Call of Duty World at War. Now, it has been pointed out, though, that sometimes, just sometimes, Xbox does make mistakes. So don't be surprised if, the banner does get removed, and these games are no longer there. But hopefully that won't be the case. I have said, now I know Phil Spencer, he was in an interview around that time when the deal closed, and he said it's going to take some time. He didn't necessarily say that they got to get the infrastructure for it or anything like that. That's not what he said. But he pretty much was saying that it's not as easy as a click of a button and the game just can appear in the service. So, like I said, man, this has been going on 2 years that it has not been, just this big, amazing buffet, as it were, of Activision titles inside of Game Pass, but hopefully, this is a sign that things are about to start to turn around and more titles will be available inside of Game Pass. Again, their show in June is coming, June 8th at 1 p.m. Hopefully they will address a little bit of this. Like I said, their show could be amazing. They have so many things that they can show off. It's just an abundance of jewels that they have as far as games go that they could, have announcements for and things of that nature. So we will have to just continue to wait and see how this actually comes out in the wash, because I would have thought by now they would have already had at least most of the ducks in a row, and they would have been releasing Activision games over and over again, like on a monthly basis, when it comes to these titles being available inside of Game Pass. So we will have to see. But for right now, again, coming to the Game Pass service, according to the Microsoft Store on PC, Call of Duty Infinite, Call of Duty World at War, and Tony Hawk Pro Skater 1 and 2. Let's go ahead, guys, and let's get into the next story that I actually got from Games Radar. So this is a quick news story. Now, the GameCube controller for Switch 2. Yeah, buddy. And in small print, it was pointed out by VGC that, quote, the controller is only compatible with Nintendo GameCube, Nintendo Classics, End of quote. So in so many words, this controller will not work with any of your Switch 2 games. So if you thought that you were going to be able to play Mario Kart World, is it? I believe that's what it's called. With the GameCube controller, it's not going to fly. If you thought you were going to be able to play Metroid Prime 4 with that controller, it is a no-go. Just remember that. It's only for the Nintendo classics. It's a little... That's not a letdown, though. I mean, look, they got to move forward. They got all of these different features inside of the Nintendo Switch 2's controller. They want to show it off. They got the mouse feature. Just enjoy the GameCube controller if you do pick it up for those Nintendo GameCube classics. But let's go ahead, guys, and let's move on in to the final story this week. Now, the thing is, I already brought this game up, so pardon me that I didn't add it in, during that game's news story. But I want to just double back to Indiana Jones, because it has been confirmed via the PlayStation blog and Machine Games production director John Jennings, that the Great Circle will run at native 4K on the PlayStation 5 Pro. Now, this was his quote. He said PlayStation 5 Pro, quote, is the best way to appreciate the level of detail the team at Machine Games has poured into every corner of the world. End of quote. How do you? Oh, man. How do you, as a first part, listen, first off, I want to say I respect the honesty and I respect the transparency that this gentleman has. But golly, that's like somebody married that has a spouse talking about how great somebody else is outside of their spouse. The Series X, that joker just said, nah, if you want to have a real good time and you want to really understand and see the greatness of what we at Machine Games were building, you got to buy this on the PlayStation 5 Pro. That's where you need to experience this at, because that's where you're going to get all of the bells and whistles. God, dog. I mean, PlayStation just pretty much just went in there and they just told Xbox, you ain't got it. Doggone, your spouse said, you ain't got it. I'm over on better and bigger and greener pastures. You ain't got it. Because even Digital Foundry, just to put this into perspective a little bit more, Digital Foundry said that Indiana Jones on the Series X ran at 1800p on average. Oh, man. 1800p on average. And you got the PlayStation 5 Pro out there doing it in 4K. Golly. This is just so rough, man. And it's moments like this where I clutch my fist and I just feel so bad. I feel not bad, but bad. Like, dang, man, why? Why are you doing this to your fan base? These people went out there and spent the $500 and you got 1800p on average, and you're telling people, hey, look, listen, man, if you want to get that premium experience that y'all over at Xbox promised players that they were going to get, you got to go outside the house to the competition, which is PlayStation 5 Pro. And they also, man, this is the other thing. They said it's gonna, that 1800p was on average, and it did have dynamic resolution scaling. But on PS5, They also said that there will be ray tracing on both versions of the game, the Pro version and the standard. Now, even though the Pro has said that it would be advanced ray tracing. And matter of fact, shout out to AB, good brother AB, for actually sending me this story. I appreciate that, brother. Appreciate that. Man, that is hurtful, though. Wow. I mean, good grief. You know what? I'm not even going to harp on that, man. That is the end of the gaming news this week. Jeez. PlayStation 5 Pro, the better version to experience your old game. Good grief. Man, that joke is stepping out. Man, ain't no loyalty to their spouse, man. They looking over at everybody else. Wow, they look good over there. Matter of fact, they making me shot. Darn. Anyway, man, this is business at the end of the day. But that leads us to the final section of the podcast. And like I mentioned earlier, I know y'all saw the question for this week, and I appreciate y'all being here, but let's go over it officially. And I know I just finished talking mess about Xbox. Just 10 seconds ago, I was talking crazy. But I gotta ask y'all, can Xbox mount a comeback? I'm asking that because I don't think any of us could have foreseen that Nintendo, maybe not to the degree of the Xbox One. I'm not going to get crazy with this, as far as them dropping the ball, but I don't think any of us expected Nintendo to even drop the ball this much. And by them actually having their console be priced at the price that it is, these are premium prices, $450 to $500. That a kid may want this. And they said if these tariffs, because they are on pause at the moment, but if these tariffs do come back, it could make the price of the console. Now, it's not just going to be Nintendo. Let's be fair. It's going to be across the board. But we're talking about that could bring the Nintendo Switch 2 up between $50 to $100. I think if the tariff is, don't quote me on this number, but if it goes up to like 47%, somewhere around there, it could add an extra $50 to $100 cost onto the Switch 2, which could pretty much essentially take it up to $500 to $550. Now, we know that in these hard times, pardon me, y'all, in these hard economic times, a child, kid, and I hate to use children because we're all grown and we love gaming. So let's just say a spouse, one of our spouses, asks, hey, what do you want for Christmas? I was looking at the Nintendo Switch 2, it's kind of a thing I might want to get. Now, granted, let's just say this person is a casual. They're not the hardcore. They're more of a casual. And somebody goes to the store and they ask them, okay, I want the Nintendo Switch 2, but it's $500 to $550. Now, I do understand some people are going to say, if you got to make life decisions over $500 to $550, you shouldn't be getting the console. But if that was the case, people wouldn't have so much debt after Christmas or after certain holidays. So plenty of people are making bad decisions out here. So let's just put that to the side and let's just live in reality. People love their loved ones and they want to do for them. So let's say they go out there and they see that the Switch with these tariffs is $500 to $550. And they look over. Now, listen, everybody does this, not unless you just got money to burn. If you're getting a gift and you see a gift that can pretty much do everything that this gift could do, minus maybe a couple of things, but then they put on there, well, look, this is the Xbox Series S. No, it doesn't have Nintendo games. No, it's not portable or anything like that. But both of these consoles, they're going to share maybe about 70 maybe 75, because we know Nintendo be slipping a little bit with the third-party support. So let's just say in this generation, they're going to do a lot better with that. So let's just say that they're going to share roughly about maybe 70% of the same gaming catalog. And certain games on the Switch that are going to be $80 to $90, depending on which game you get. But if you get the Series S, not only can you get it, because let's be fair, if the tariffs are a thing, you can get this thing for $350 to $400. And instead of having to go out there and buy all of the games, you can get Game Pass. And Game Pass has hundreds of games in there, and you can get that for $25 a month. And new games, every new game that comes out on the Xbox Series S will be free inside of Game Pass. So unlike the Nintendo Switch 2, where you're going to have to buy every single game that they make this first party, with Xbox Series S, you'll be able to get it in the service for one flat fee. If you were to go out there and you were to buy this game for $80 for the Nintendo Switch 2, you could pay for 3 months of Game Pass and get hundreds of games. How many people, after hearing, and that ain't even a great pitch, that is just basic, but how many people are at least not going to, bare minimum, be like, wow, so you mean to tell me it's cheaper? They're pretty much going to get mostly the same games, but when a new game releases on the Xbox, I don't have to pay full price. I just pay for it within this service? Oh, man, that sounds like a much better deal. No, they ain't going to be able to have it in handheld mode or anything like that, but it's small enough. Maybe we can get a little TV for them or something. I mean, people start trying to rationalize different things, just to try to make the purchase seem to make sense. So with that being said, I'm just curious to know, do y'all think that Xbox really could make a comeback if they mount a comeback? Because price at the end of the day is everything. And with the Switch being priced just as much as the big boy consoles, as the Series X and the PlayStation 5, and not even as powerful. We just got word from Digital Foundry that the Nintendo Switch 2 is pretty much around the power level of a PlayStation 4. Not even a Pro, but a PlayStation 4 is where they're pretty much placing the power, which is a big leap for Nintendo. I mean, we got to be fair. That is a huge leap for Nintendo, but it's not as powerful as the Series S. Somebody could also bring that point up, but it's not as strong. And we know the Series S be lagging behind when it comes to the X and all of that. But if you're comparing it to the Switch 2, you kind of got a bit of a, maybe not a real battle, because I don't want to blow this out of proportion like the Series S is going to give the Nintendo Switch 2 a lot of work. Like, it's really going to give it a lot of competition, but that price point and what Game Pass offers, I think you could make a bit of an argument that it could have a bit of daylight, a bit of a chance, because Nintendo is coming out the gate and they are stumbling and fumbling, which is something, like I said before, I don't think any of us were expecting Nintendo to do. So while they're down a little bit, they ain't completely down. They may be down on a knee. They ain't down on both knees. They ain't out of the game, because people do say that, man, that thing feels premium and it works. It's a beautiful experience. So I'm not taking anything away from that, but price wise, with the Series S being where it is, could it really help Xbox mount a comeback? I would love, absolutely love to hear you guys' thoughts on this. If you want to be a part of the conversation, you can do it two different ways. You can either call in at 443-627-9087 and let your voice literally be heard, or you can email the show, and the email address is the Analog Circle Podcast at gmail.com. Oh man, before we get out of here though, remember, we won't be here next Sunday. The following Sunday, we should be back. But again, as always, I want to thank you guys for being here. Thank y'all. So with that being said, before we wrap this thing up and put a bow on it, always remember one thing. It is not about the consoles. It is about the games. So 2 Sundays from now, we'll be back at it. But until then, you guys take care. Be safe out there. Bye-bye.